So finally, it's happening. Some exciting news around Starfield that is also very good news for its future. I've been waiting for this news. We'll talk about it. And Todd Howard on Fallout 3 in Starfield. Is this actually in the game? Will it ever happen? And also, could Starfield become a TV show, much like Fallout is getting its own show on Amazon? We got some new words from Phil Spencer. We're going to dive into that. And watch as this guy claims to have played Starfield, absolutely trashes it, and ultimately gets exposed for not having played it at all. You've got to see it to believe it. This is the world we currently live in. Also, we have a major graphics enhancement mod that will change the game big time. It's in the works right now, but you have to see this one for sure. And yes, more Starfield tips for shipbuilding, companion tips, data surveying, and 4 more details Starfield doesn't tell you. But yeah, check this out right here. So they really did it. Bloodline Heroes of Lithis just added an entirely new bloodline known as Tide Razors, who are powerful demigods that originated from the fiercest seas. So that's right, Bloodline Heroes of Lithis is back again with all new updates that I think you'll want to check out. Now, if you don't know what Bloodline is about, it's an incredibly unique game that lets you marry 2 bloodlines together, which can result in over 1,000 possible fantasy hybrids that inherit the traits and visual features of their parents passed down from each family tree and basically fuse into one. And you could even create variations of demons, demigods, orcs to dwarves, and everything in between. Even dragonborn and vampires are here to aid you in defending your very own kingdom. So yeah, join me right now and download Bloodline Heroes of Lithis for free by clicking my link in the description below, or scan the QR code on the screen and receive an amazing starter pack worth $20. And what's really neat about this game is that you can create your own unique legendary champions by combining many different bloodlines together, raising heirs with companions, waifus, and yes, you can switch genders of companions freely too. And there's new bloodlines that are also released every 2 weeks. The game is constantly updated with new content and improved with each new update, and the fun of creating new hybrid combinations never ends. And Bloodline Heroes of Lithis also features fantastic visuals on mobile and smart pads, a well-crafted story campaign, and even online PvP multiplayer with seasonal guild wars, where you can ultimately earn the highly sought-after Bloodcraft Legends, which are extremely unique hybrid champions. So download Bloodline Heroes of Lithis right now for free on iOS or Android by clicking my link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen and get a special starter pack worth $20. The starter pack contains 1 summoning crystal, 100,000 in gold, and 100 diamonds. And the first 30 players to leave their in-game account ID and username in the first pinned comment section below will receive a free Legendary Female Succubus Champion, the Luxuriant, one of the best mages to carry you in the game. And a huge thank you once again to Bloodline Heroes of Lithis for always believing in what I do and sponsoring this video. So yeah, this is definitely the news I have been waiting for. Let's dive straight into it. But if you're new, press that subscribe button. If you haven't already, turn on the bell notification icon. But yes, finally, Starfield has done it. It has surpassed 300,000 concurrent players this weekend. It is on the up and up. I told you guys we're going to see what happens this weekend. It's finally happening, and the game is booming right now. So this is excellent news. But yeah, we got to talk about some controversy. Check this out right here. It says this: David Jaffe doing God's work. Just watch until the end. I'm going to play this clip for you in just a moment. But yeah, if you don't know who David Jaffe is, he of course worked on PlayStation exclusive games like Twisted Metal and so on. But yeah, this is the most ridiculous clip because he's talking with a gamer who claims to have played Starfield, and you could see where this actually goes. Check it out.
So far, based on word of mouth, reviews, it's a disappointment.
Okay. I mean, how much have you played?
Like 3 hours.
Okay, and what's disappointing about it to you?
First of all, I thought the intro was horrendous.
What about the intro? What about the intro was horrendous?
It just was very lackluster. Like, if you compare it to Skyrim, immediately you're fighting a dragon.
Do you think that was the choices you made? What is her name? Lynn or Lim? Do you think part of it is just the fact that she asked you to burn the body and it should be more of a choice versus she forces you to do it and it's almost like it's scripted at that point?
That's some of it.
I mean, that didn't happen at all in the game. So I'm assuming you haven't played it yet, correct?
No, I swear to God, I played it, but
So it's pretty crazy to me that people are willing to give an opinion on a product, whatever that may be, gaming, movies, what have you, without even actually experiencing what they're actually talking about. And it's very clear that that was going on in this conversation here. But I'm actually glad that this clip has surfaced because it shows where a lot of the hate is actually coming from for Starfield. A lot of the hate comes from people that have barely played the game. I myself, like many of you, are actually enjoying the game. Don't get me wrong. Again, there needs to be improvements with this one for sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about yet another brand new interview with Todd Howard and Phil Spencer. This one comes from Washington Post. Here's the headline right here. It says, a Starfield postmortem with Todd Howard and Phil Spencer. Let's get into this one right here because there was some interesting stuff said about Fallout 3 in Starfield. Let's dive into it right now. It goes on to say this. Microsoft acquired Bethesda's parent company ZeniMax Media in 2021 for $7.5 billion with hopes to buttress its subscription service with exclusive quality titles. Howard and Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, say the partnership is a natural fit, especially since the studio has worked closely with Xbox in the past. Here's the quote from Spencer. It says, it's been a while since we launched anything of this scale that's single player. It's kind of a pin for us in our strategy that we can do big multiplayer games and single player games. The business models that we have in Xbox and the places where we ship allow us to find millions of players. And, you know, I'm so glad that they are tapping into the open world RPG single player experience and really going all in on that. Now, I do have a question for you guys, and this is a big question, a controversial one for sure. Do you want to see a Starfield 76? So something like where it has full-blown co-op, PvP, in an open world. Do you want to see Bethesda take a second attempt at this? Let me know in the comments down below. I prefer the single-player open-world RPG experience. That's my go-to. That's what I 100% prefer no matter what. Now, the article continues onward and says this. I spent a lot of time thinking about how the game industry is going to grow, and my view is that it grows if there's less friction of a player anywhere wanting to find their game, and closed platforms create real barriers to that, Spencer said. Now, he did admit Xbox has its own walled-off content. Starfield is not available on PlayStation, for example, but said he's working to change that. Interesting. So I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. Now, that's not to say, of course, do not hold your breath, because I do not think Starfield would ever be able to make it on PlayStation, but it seems like they're very interested in expanding where Starfield and games like Starfield can actually be experienced even beyond Xbox, so that has me interested. Furthermore, it says this right here. Xbox is still focused on expanding its game services while its rivals race ahead in film and television. This year, Nintendo and Sony have expanded their intellectual property to include the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which earned more than $1.3 billion at the global box office, and the 24-time Emmy-nominated HBO series, The Last of Us. Spencer admits the Xbox is earlier in our journey to squeeze its brands into other spaces. So yeah, could we be seeing Starfield with its own TV series down the road? Is that something you guys would like to see, or do you think they should just play it safe and keep it to gaming? Because yeah, they can accidentally end up attaching, you know, a Starfield TV show that's no good to something that many would consider to be sacred, would be considered to be very good in their mind. So they got to be careful here with whatever they do in the future. Now, furthermore, it says this, we don't have the deep expertise that Sony obviously has from their movie studios that make world-class video content, and Nintendo did a great job. Obviously, I do think it's important for these worlds we're creating in games. We used to have a lot of envy in our industry of Hollywood and what they were creating. Then you see comics kind of take over, and now you're going to see video game stories continue to grow in importance because our creators are as capable as creators of any medium. Yeah, so I would not be surprised from what we're hearing from Phil Spencer that Starfield, maybe years down the road, if it sees long-term success with its game, which I'm expecting, that maybe, just maybe, you would see some sort of TV show. Now, also we have this. Howard and his team like to create games that form backdrops for countless other stories. Starfield has thousands of explorable planets, including an Earth with a surface blasted by some mass annihilation events. I landed my ship in the DC area with hopes to find the nuclear wasteland from Fallout 3 to no avail. Howard laughs. We talked about it, and this gets interesting. Let's scroll on down here. It says, it was just one of hundreds of plans that didn't quite make it into the game. Howard said it was a challenge to make sure the studio's technology could keep up with its ambition. Oh, we planned, and those plans went out the window. we knew we were going to rewrite parts of the engine, so we started building technology for the planets and the outer space stuff on our previous engine and renderer. Eventually, they realized they had to port years of work to a new engine, and then the pandemic hit. So yeah, it would have been cool if they had, full-blown references to, of course, Fallout. Do you think it would be interesting for potentially them to really start directly interconnecting their franchises, perhaps Fallout and Starfield being the two key franchises that I can think about that would potentially work with interconnecting them? But then again, I myself think that they should play safe, keep them separate. But hey, you know what? I would not be surprised if in the future we see modders really go after it and include perhaps entire portions of previous Fallout games in Starfield. Because you got to remember, Pete Hines did go on record stating that he does expect modders to make entire planets in the future, that is actually a possibility. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see tidbits or entire pieces of like Fallout or what have you end up perhaps in Starfield down the road, which I think would be very, very cool. The question is, do you want to see official support for something like this as well? And, you have to ask, does it make sense with the lore in Starfield or not? All right, so yeah, let's keep going. It goes on to say this right here. For Howard, Starfield is born of a wish to play spacefaring adventures with modern technology and design language of video games. It's something we always talked about here. A few years in, we figured out why people try and stop or don't want to do it all the way. But we are in a fortunate position to have the support and time to do it. And you know what? That last quote gives me a lot of hope for Starfield's long-term support. It seems like they have excellent support, not only from ZeniMax, but of course, Microsoft, their new biggest supporter here. And that gets me very, very excited for what's next for Starfield. Now, we also have this one right here from Forbes. It says, a Starfield secret. One weapon class is hilariously overpowered, and it begs the question, is Starfield balanced or not? Do you guys think that they should do any sort of tweaking with upcoming patches to the weapons? I myself think they should just keep it as is, and there's enough modifications in the game to where you can really boost whatever weapons you want, and in that way you can kind of seek the power that you're kind of seeking. Now, let's get into the article. It says this: I've recently talked about how at level 93, I'm so strong now that nothing in the game can stand up to me or my ship. And New Game Plus wouldn't change anything since you keep all your skills. But part of that strength is due to my weapons, and what I've learned after sifting through hundreds of them is that this game is really not balanced when it comes to various weapon types. Some really underperform. The high mag shotguns are pretty terrible, while others are god tier even at base white rarity. The bonuses you get from higher level modifiers can be good, but there's one class of weapons that's essentially outclasses literally every other type in the game, and yes, they're made by our good friends, the Varun. Now, the Varun class of particle beam weapons and their melee counterparts are easily some of the best weapons in the game, even without any modifiers, even with 0 points sunk into increasing particle weapon damage. As far as I can tell, there are only 2 of these. And take a look at this bad boy right here. It looks super impressive. And the article says this: the Varon Star Shard, a hard-hitting pistol with as much damage as a revolver most of the time, but with a much bigger magazine and higher fire rate. And then there's this one, of course, right here. I love the look of them, by the way. The Varon Inflictor says the rifle that looks like a submachine gun, but isn't. That also packs a huge punch with its semi-automatic fire. Can't forget about this one right here. It looks like a blade. It says the Varon Pain Blade. This is the melee weapon that joins them. I'd argue it's the best in the game, where you can one-shot lower level enemies, and with things like stealth upgrade, you can actually one-shot higher ones. This is the only one of the 3 I found in a higher tier rarity. So yeah, let me know, what is your favorite weapon so far from Starfield? But he has some important notes here as well. It says the most important thing for these is finding them from high level Varon enemies, which are more scarce than Spacers, Ecliptic, and Crimson Fleet Pirates. The goal is the highest damage total. I believe these hit so hard because they do so much damage across 2 types of damage, energy and ballistic. My pistol, for instance, has 306 damage between those. The rifle has 440. I also believe it helps that you're splitting damage, because if an enemy has resistances against one type, you still have the other type. Yeah, also I have found corrosive weapons, which are excellent, by the way. If you have corrosive, go for it. Again, like, the base damage isn't exactly the thing you should look for when you pick up a weapon. Always look for those additional perks that are tied to the weapon, especially if you pick up a legendary. Now, yes, we got to talk about what is being worked on right now for Starfield mods. Check it out. Starfield HD reworked project announced by Hulk Hogan. First version to be released soon. This is amazing. Check out the video right here. And you can see the before texture right here. And then as we swipe through, you can see the after. And it is a very clear difference. Here are some blurry textures in the game currently. And look at how crisp they end up looking. I'm very excited for this mod. I'll keep you guys in the know as to when it actually releases, but you can find this full video in the description below. But some very, very cool stuff going on here. I wanted to leave you with this one right here as well. Check that out. It's going to make it so much more crisp, and very excited to see where this game stands a year from now after you have like 100 mods installed. I think it's going to be pretty incredible. Now, we got to talk about, yes, shipbuilding. And yes, check it out right here. The cosmetic pieces available from each shipyard. Look at this. And this gives you an idea of how you can really craft some really cool looking ships here. Now, we have Hope Tech, of course, which I think has very sleek looking designs right there. But yeah, pause the screen if you want to go back to that one and see what is available. But yeah, you can really find some cool pieces and actually create a cohesive looking ship in the future from that. Next up, we have PSA, set Vasco to your ship crew, even if you're not using him. This is great advice. It says setting Vasco to your ship crew stations him outside when you land. So not only will he defend the ship if bad guys get too close, he's always there to say hello when you leave and come back from the field. Multiple people asking how to do this. So from your ship summary window, look down, and you should see a button or key for crew. Assign him from that menu. As for what perks he affects, I cannot say. I'm just happy to have him welcome me home from a tough day exploring. And remember, you get that extra storage as well, that extra companion if he is on your ship. So the more companions you have, you can just like offload your stuff into their inventory. Also, we have this one right here. You can obtain all of a planet's survey data if you find an abandoned research tower. It says one of the randomly generated points of interest. The abandoned research tower usually has a computer at the top where you can download the planetary survey data for the planet you're on. Just a tip. Also, it says I wanted to update this since it blew up. As to not spread misinformation, it usually always gives a planet trait, usually one, and I think it's random if it gives you more data. It requires more testing, which I will do later when I get on the game. So yeah, excellent findings right there, and I think that should save you guys a lot of time. And we also have more tips. Check it out right here. This one comes from Synth Potato. It says 4 more mechanics that Starfield doesn't tell you about. There are many doors marked that you can break open by shooting or using your cutter. There are even blocked doors by ice that you can open this way too. Not only does the cutter get auto-equipped when you go into your scanner, if you press LT, R, and B, it focuses the beam, which makes more ore collecting much faster. And that's going to be also right-clicking on your mouse, I believe. Now it says you can favorite different jetpacks, allowing you to combine different types of them for traversal. Smallest one, you can decorate your cockpit, and all items do stay in place, once you go into first person during space flight. I've seen some hilarious stuff from that one for sure. So yeah, put some stuff on your cockpit in the front, and when you're in first person actually flying around, you will see it at all times. And someone discovered this right here. They already exist in the universe, so why can't we have them? As you could see, vehicles right here. So I almost feel like this might be a tease for perhaps things to come down the road. Who knows? I'm not going to read into it too much, but it's so cool to see that. Imagine them doing like ground vehicles and being able to customize them how you are currently customizing your ships. Dude, that would be amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, yes, your top comments from my most recent video, which was this one. Starfield just got some excellent news. How is this possible? Official updates from Bethesda. Check out that video if you missed it. But let's get into what you guys had to say. we have this one right here. My favorite thing I have found so far in around 50 hours of gameplay is the ship called the Valentine. It is just a ship that is an encounter where the pilot is singing Starfield sea shanties. Best encounter ever. I have not run into that one yet. And then we have Dick Sawyer, who says this: ship elevators and stairwell alternatives to stairs on ships. The ability to customize within our ships, changing the location of hatches, stairs, and add or remove ladders during starship design. Let us enter the ship and view its internals. Yeah, great feedback right there. Hopefully Bethesda considers it. And then we have John, who says the combat on low gravity planets is a blast, especially when you use ballistic rounds. The dead enemies flying in whatever direction that the rounds carry their bodies is really neat. One guy he killed went one way and his weapon flew off in the opposite direction as he lost his grip on it. So yeah, you know, these are the things that you don't see go viral for this game. It's mostly focused around any little errors or problems the game has. That's the sort of thing that I love that you guys are noticing about the game, the little advanced features that it has. The ragdoll physics, I guess you would call them, are a lot more advanced than previous Bethesda games, of course. Look at that, like just how they're interacting with each other. I just think it's so impressive looking during combat. All right, and we have this one from Sebastian Dominic, who says this: Game Pass is the benediction of gaming. Being able to play Starfield with Game Pass is life-changing for me. Without Game Pass, I wouldn't be able to play Starfield since I'm not in a particularly good money situation right now. Thank you, Microsoft. And I think Microsoft is smart enough to recognize the current economic climate, and offering Game Pass is just a win-win for everyone, you know, because right now already they're setting this precedent. They're at 25 million subscribers from what we know from, I think it was like, didn't they say 2 years ago? So we haven't gotten an update on that one. I'm sure that number has grown, of course, and it's going to only grow with a game like Starfield being on the platform and available through Game Pass. There it is, the latest happenings around Starfield. I'll keep you guys updated. Let's see if we actually get a TV show down the road. That could potentially be very, very cool if they can actually pull off something special with the Fallout Amazon TV show. We'll see what happens. But from what I've seen with the behind the scenes pictures and stuff like that, at least they're getting the set pieces right. So that's a start. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more Starfield news and updates. I have you guys covered, and I will see you all next time. Take care.